programmer, analyst, and human resources and holistic healing, as well as I am a semi-professional musician. So you will see how that comes into play later on. But so I have a question to ask to put to everybody right now. So what do a scales, a tipping point, a doorway, and a Tigger have in common? They all have a part in transformation and expansion. When pain or discomfort in our lives gets to be too great, when the negatives or the minuses outweigh the pluses, then oftentimes we will have a choice to make: either stay the same, or resist, or choose to change. When it stays more painful, we change, hopefully. And I will take this a little bit further to explore, is it always necessary to have pain in order to have transformation or exchange or expansion? Most of us have had ideas and images of what we envisioned our life would be like. And when life turns out differently, it can be very hard for our brains to wrap around and to process and assimilate these changes. I'm going to take you through some examples of others' pain and comfort, followed by discomfort, followed by some of my own. So pain and discomfort of others and unmet needs of others can greatly change our trajectory in our lives, what we thought our life would look like and what it actually is, and what we thought our purpose would be and what it actually is. So sometimes our purpose can be disguised as someone else's problems or our responsibility for someone else. For example, some of our words would not exist today had we not gone through certain experiences. So in my situation, as far as this part of things, pain and discomfort of others, I have a brother who has had a number of head injuries over his life, so he has some mental health issues, and I've had to be care manager, life manager, financial manager, etc., even to the extent of going to court to get a legal guardianship declared for him because he kept getting into financial scams and losing thousands of dollars that he did not have available to lose. I was also caregiver for my father, and also now finishing touches on his estate, an executor of his estate. Other people who may have life trajectories that are experienced by suicides in their lives. Some of the people that have been big proponents and used their pain to help other people and have a movement or whatever is Leslie Wyrich, Ann Moss Rogers, and Brad Bushnell. I think maybe all three of them have also authored books. I'm sure they never envisioned their life being the way it is, but they have greatly transformed and expanded what they thought their life was like. I'm a big supporter of the trades, and there are some people that have seen the need for trades because so many people are getting to the retirement age. So good proponents for that has been Andrew Brown, Doug Winston, and Steve Turner, who advocate for the trades. They may not have thought that would be part of their life initially, but that is how their life has taken shape there. So in the next 5 years, there should be a lot of issues. So if you have a plumbing or electrical issue or a carpentry issue, who are you going to call if so many people are retiring? So they are doing what they can to meet the future needs of tradespeople. We have pain in our country. No matter the outcome of the presidential campaign and the election, There are a lot of people in pain from this. Neither side is going to convince the other side. The way through the divisiveness is through listening and compassion. If you listen to the pain underneath deeply entrenched perspectives, you can find our shared human experiences and lead us through and forward into transformation, or at least into expansion, and make some difference. My own pain or discomfort. As you move through life, things happen, and so your life is never static. So my life has been a very windy journey. In high school, my interests were in healthcare and music from a very young age. My mother was a nurse, and I was never sickly, but I had many things happen to me that meant I was in hospital numerous different times, being cared for by healthcare professionals, had lots of needles, and that was an environment that I was becoming not that I accepted it necessarily, but comfortable in and understood because I had some experiences there. So as an eighth grader, I decided I wanted to be a doctor. When I got to high school, by the time I was in 10th grade, that dream or idea kind of had to go by the wayside because I did not do very well in chemistry. And in order to be a doctor, you had to do pretty well in chemistry. So I then turned to more focus on my music and such, and but I still had interest in healthcare. During college, I changed majors 2 times and was getting ready to change a third. And I decided I think I should take some time off and figure things out some more. So when I returned, I went to a different school and actually went for computer programming, and that was a successful direction for me to go. So I was a program analyst for 10 years, an additional 3 years in IT until my body said no. Because the last 3 years, I was in a very negative environment. Speaking about environments that can be very toxic, it was. And so the amount of negativity there was very causative for my back issues and back pain every day, all day long. So that space that leaving that job created, I tried to find part-time work that I could do, and there wasn't really much of anything. So as time went on, I still wasn't finding a job. Then the idea of doing something with this, something else. So during the last 3 years in IT, I had also become acquainted with Reiki energy healing and took the initial training for that. And that was in response to some pain issues and conditions that one of my children was having. I became very intrigued. So, as the other job area didn't come up or didn't pan out, that space was allowed for a different journey to come about. So I ended up going to massage therapy school where I could combine both of these kinds of healing methods together. So even though I didn't end up in healthcare the way I initially envisioned it, all of these things that happened in life still kind of redirected me back into that area, which I have now been a holistic practitioner for about 22 years. My toughest journey was my divorce, and that happened about 11 years ago. That was probably the deepest pain in my life. And that became my tipping point to recovering, rediscovering, and reconnecting with myself. I even wrote an article on LinkedIn about 2 years ago called Life Perspectives. Holy shit, or holy shift. Now, each of those has a different connotation or understanding. So the first one, holy shit, is our natural human response to things that may happen to us, especially really traumatic things. The holy shit is recognized as the manure or fertile ground that this mucky muck is going to be helpful for our growth in the long run. And the holy shift is experiencing the transformation after we have made it through that part. A quote that my family embraced when I was growing up was, God closes one door, one place, he opens a window in another. So many times I came to discover that through that divorce process. My life and relationships were painfully fractured, and despite the destruction and chaos, I kept listening to what was deep within, as well as continuing to hold the vision that at some point we would all be able to be together in an amicable way and involved in each other's lives, or at least be able to gather together and things like that. In going through the divorce, I had, at that point, I would become a shell of a person. I had nothing left to offer anyone, myself or my kids. And even though I did not want the divorce, my husband is the one that wanted the divorce, I soon realized that it was necessary for my mental health. What was supposed to have been a shared disclosure to our children became a blaming and a burden, saying your mother wants to tell you something, not we have something to tell you. So that was pretty big awareness as far as how this was going to go. We learn through society and culture and religion, especially as women, to always put other people first. So I know that I did that and lost myself along the way, and almost completely lost myself until I was able to decide that I needed to change directions. So this was a very big self-discovery, self rebuilding, and self-worth, realizing that. So during that process, I kept feeling like I was knocked down constantly, but I kept getting back up. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with Tigger from Winnie the Pooh, but that is one of the reasons Tigger has become a symbol for me in resilience, is that every time I got knocked down, I got back up. And after a while, I realized that it was taking me less and less time to get back up from that, and to actually be able to keep moving forward, not just to where I was when I got knocked down, but beyond that. Another quote that had a particular meaning for me was an old Irish blessing. May the road rise up to meet you. So I think about this often, in the depiction. Some of you may have been aware of the movie series, it's been a number of years now, called Spy Kids. And in Spy Kids 3, Game Over, the players are in a virtual game, and they're fighting for their life pretty much. And what happens is, it looks like they're going to step into an abyss no matter what step they take in any direction. And what happens is, when they step out, as they step out, the next step automatically comes up. It's a transparent step that comes right under their foot to support them. So I have experienced that in numerous ways in my life, and especially in the last 11 years. During that divorce process, my attorney asked me if I had a bachelor's degree. And I said, no, but I have enough credits. And he said, well, what does that mean? And I said, well, I have enough credits, but I just don't have the paper. I have changed majors a couple of times. I said I always wanted to finish, but it became a lesser priority as you were raising a family. He said, I think maybe you should do that. And I said, yes, I totally agree. And that became probably the life-saving focus for me during that divorce period. I went back to school, and had I not had that to focus on, I would not have been able to continue moving forward. So while I was focusing on moving forward to finish that degree in 2 years, I also, excuse me, got to expand my education and rebuild myself so that I had some more skills to help support myself. One of the things that I was very aware of during the process was that had I not had, I am so sorry here. Had I not had some of these experiences, I wouldn't be having new experiences at this point. So many times throughout those years, I would be in tears when I realized the blessings that had come through all this turmoil and all this pain. How do we move through pain and discomfort to be transformed and expanded? Through our resilience. Depends on our ability to be able to respond and to, like I said with Tigger, keep getting back up. You are stronger than you think. Many of you may be familiar with Joe Dispenza, and he says you must stop choosing what's not choosing you. At times we pour our energies into things or relationships that are simply not for us. Instead, let go and focus on aligning yourself with flow. We must learn to operate from our internal GPS, our inner knowing. Learning to trust our intuition can help us tap into our creativity and limitlessness. Making choices that deeply resonate with you, even though they don't make sense to others. I have a nephew who wrestling was a big deal in my ex-husband's family, and my one brother-in-law was a wrestling coach, and his son was wrestling, and his son had a lot of other talents, but oftentimes children do things to please the parents or have that bond. So during his junior year in high school, he finally told his father that he didn't want to wrestle anymore. And he knew the amount of grief he was going to get and pressure from that because they didn't understand. Because he was strong enough to make that decision for himself, his whole family then got to know a whole different side of him that they had no idea about. I mean, they knew he liked music, but because he made that choice, that very next year, he was the main lead in the musical Oklahoma. And that would never have happened had he not gone through the pain of letting go of something that wasn't choosing him. If you're struggling with letting go of something or letting go of your expectations of something or the picture you envisioned, you can let go of resistance to change or to your control of the situation. The energy required to maintain the resistance and control can now be used to fuel your new direction and your transformation, your growth. Speaking to myself as well as to each of you, it will become easier each time you do it. As we have more life experiences, we hopefully will get better and better at bouncing back up or redirecting or moving through some of these situations that life is going to continue to throw at us. We would be more able to change directions. We are building up a history of resilience and pivoting, which we can remind ourselves of our strength and solidify our belief in ourselves and remind ourselves, yes, we have dealt with hard things before and we can again, and we can still come through very well. Some practical applications and ways to move along the path of expansion and transformation. I'm going to read a few of these here. Mindset is a big deal. Learning to stop and challenge and to choose the direction you're going to go. Commit time and space to reflect. Ask yourself probing questions to discover the real sources of pain and discomfort rather than assumptions. Identify what you're able to change and what you are not. Challenge yourself when you automatically tell yourself you can't do something. Call yourself out on your doubts. Remind yourself of those other times where you successfully navigated something challenging. Imagine what your expanded self looks and feels like. Choose to take action to move towards your expanded self. Thank you very much.